Okay, welcome to the Troy Board of Park Commissioners meeting for June 5th. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers.
Here.
Mr. Emmerich.
Here.
Mrs. Westfall. Here.
Okay, we have our minutes of our May 1st meeting that have been disseminated to all the members. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, they stand accepted. Mr. Drake, how are you today, sir?
Wonderful, how are you?
Okay, and why don't you give us your report, anything that you have in addition to what you've already provided us?
Nothing to add.
Okay. The matter of the objectives and things like that, that'll be in the other matters section?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Seiler, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Do you have anything to add to your report?
I have nothing to add also.
Gee, you guys, do you do anything all day? Okay.
No?
Mr. Brewer,
Yes, sir.
how are you?
Doing great yourself?
Okay. Give us an update of what's going on out there at the golf course.
Okay. As I put in my report, Mercer Group has broken ground on the driving range. So we're just right now moving dirt basically for the teeing area. Most of that's really going to take place later on in July and August as far as the seeding and everything goes there. So we're just getting ready for some dirt to be hauled in and creating a teeing area for that. Pre-bid meeting has taken place, as I put in my report, for the renovation. That took place on May 30th. We had quite a few general contractors there. I think Mr. Cagley, was it 12 at least, or 10?
Around 12 general contractors.
Around 12 general contractors? Okay. And I think their final bids have to be submitted by June 20th, and then we'll go from there.
Have you further resolved any issue concerning the cart path down to the driving range?
Yeah, in the process of, we do have the approval from the Conservancy District to use that space, and I'm in the process right now of getting some bids for concrete work for that. So it's looking like that can be done within the budget that I've been given.
Good, good. Any questions of Mr. Brewer? Kyler, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing to add.
I don't have anything as far as Planning Commission report. There was another section of Halifax, I think, which was approved, but the park property had already been addressed in the very first phase, so that was issue resolved. Okay, old business. Update regarding the RFP related to the T signs. Mr. Brewer, do you have anything you want to report on that, or should I put Mrs. Knight on the stand?
Yeah, I don't have anything to report. I just received this from Mrs. Knight, so I haven't really had a chance to take a look through it.
Well, let's talk about it. First of all, what is the timing of this? Are they looking for any particular timing on getting the T signs in place, or is this?
This wouldn't be done until the beginning of next year.
So we can go ahead and table this then?
You do
address it
have some
next
time.
meeting.
It's not something that we're trying to have done anytime this year, so
Okay.
it would be beginning of
What
next
I
year.
would propose then is that you would take a look at this and come up with recommendations to the Board of Park Commissioners concerning the matters that we aren't addressing. And you can see some blanks in here.
Okay.
Okay. For instance, do we modify any language in here concerning the colors of the T signs or the size of the T signs, whether the advertising is to be on top or the bottom or no advertising or whatever?
Sure.
And let's have you make a recommendation to us. Get us your recommendation in advance of the next meeting
Okay.
so that we can go ahead and address it then, okay?
Okay.
So I would move to table the discussion concerning the RFP related to the T signs. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers.
Yes?
Mr. Emmerich.
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall.
Yes.
Motion is tabled.
Okay, so that is now tabled until next meeting, or whenever we take it off the table. Okay, Mr. Drake, did you want to go forward with a conceptual plan of Prouty Plaza? Is that something we did in your wheelhouse, or who's
I've
driving that discussion?
Been in on some of those meetings, but I believe Mr. Titterington has that to bring forward.
Mr. Terrington, would you approach, please?
Do you mind flipping the light switch?
There, that'll be the last one.
Yeah, okay.
just as a little backdrop, we have asked a landscape architect designer to look at some conceptual designs related to Prouty Plaza, and just looking at some alternatives to, it started with just improving the surface, and then you'll see from some of the options a little more elaborate ideas. So, and of course this thing cattywamped. Just as by way of background, the reason that we included this in the 2018 budget was really for two reasons. Number one, this was a recommendation that came out of the Activate Troy Partnership, the ATP, and it's related to the downtown riverfront corridor study that MKSK did for us a few months ago. Apologize, these were supposed to be
Can I ask a
in
question?
order.
You said it was included in the 2018 budget. What was included?
Some funding to have somebody do some drawings for us,
Architectural
some of these renderings
Okay,
only,
gotcha.
yes. So that was one of the reasons that we wanted to look at that. And MKSK's concern is that we've got such a vibrant downtown. We do an excellent job of bringing folks into the downtown for special events, concert series, sculptures on the square. But their concern, or the opportunity that we're missing, I guess, is that if we could improve Prouty Plaza to make it a space where people would be able to gather, say, during lunch during the week, or as they're just walking around and shopping on a typical weekday or weekend, with perhaps some furniture or some picnic tables where they could grab lunch and then walk over to Prouty Plaza. That would enhance they felt, the vibrancy and the activity in the downtown. So that was one of the reasons that we wanted to engage these design options. The second reason is that for a lot of years there have been concerns, not only by the mayor, in particular, the council has mentioned this not as a number one priority, but as a nice to have, as well as Troy Main Street and some of our downtown groups, the lack of a public restroom space. We've talked about the stage, I want to say over a 15-year period, and we've had some various ideas that have come in, some more grandiose than others. And so as we've talked to, his name is Grant, so he's the landscape designer. So when I say Grant, that's who I mean. It's Grant, right? I always want to call him Glenn, but it's Grant, G. These are the submittals that he gave to us, and I apologize, I had these larger and my eyes are not that great. So this is 3, 2, and 1. So if I started, initially we met him out on site, and we asked him to just walk around the site and look at some, what he envisioned. And he originally gave us 3 options. One, we'll call them the short range, medium, and then long range ideas. So this first one was an initial concept that would include the reuse of the stage, the showmobile, excuse me, with what you see is a lot of landscape bricks and a concept for a restroom between the Mayflower and the Edward Jones building. So this was option 1 that I think you have in your you should have in your packet. And I can call these up at any point. Option 2 then, a little more elaborate. He had an idea of he called it an earthenware stage, something like that, where he would incorporate the same landscape scheme as you see here, with a more permanent stage, retaining the mural in the background, and you see a separate, slightly different design for a restroom. In option 3, you see a much different design, longer range, more elaborate restroom facility, permanent stage, as well as a reuse of the wall instead of the mural, and a rather esoteric design of landscaping on Prouty Plaza. We asked him in talking with staff and with the mayor's guidance, we then went to him, and hopefully I have these, yes I do, to give us two alternatives of I guess it's option 2 revised. One with walkway, where he added some sidewalk, an area where if we wanted to put the showmobile, we could put it up here, but this would be an earthen stage. We asked him to reduce the footprint of brick and leave much more grass and green space than he had. And then he kept the same restroom concept here with the mural in the background. So he included this walkway. As we discussed, we felt like it might be a little too busy, and so we had him do one without the walkway. Again, offering some landscape space where people could actually, picnic on the grass, or use, we would buy some picnic tables and benches, what have you, along the hard surfaces. Have a permanent stage, but not eliminate the mural. So these are some concepts that he came up with. We wanted, so we've gotten some extremely conservative, very first blush numbers from a landscape firm. The improvements to the surface area could be anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. And again, these are very rough figures. A permanent stage here, which we believe, we would definitely do some solicitations and see if there may be a corporate sponsor. Of course, that would probably be in return for some kind of naming rights for the, we would expect just the stage area and not Prouty Plaza, since there is no desire to change the name from Prouty Plaza. And then, so that would be 100 to 150, and then another 100 to 150 for the restrooms. So not a cheap project. Obviously, not something that we would be doing immediately. Would take a lot more time, effort, and design work. But before we went to the next stage, perhaps in the 2019 budget, as well as talking to anybody that might be, or any entity that might want to look at this as part of a sponsorship or a grant. We wanted to get your feedback, what your initial thoughts were. It's not something that, again, is on a fast track, so it's not anything that needs to be decided today.
Do
That's
you
where we're at.
recall, Mr. Titterington, the committee that was formed to investigate this a decade ago?
Are you talking about Mr. Bem?
Yes,
And the,
yes.
what was it, the Freedom, it wasn't Freedom Center, was it? Some,
It was far more than a decade ago.
yeah, it was
I
more
thought
like
so.
15, that's what,
Yeah.
I think it was 15.
Where
We
did
actually
where
have
did
the,
that committee get bogged down? Because they were talking about permanent stage, bathroom.
that was a permanent stage. Well, honestly, my recollection, without going back to the minutes, is I think that it was more permanent than what the park board wanted to do at the time. It was a much larger building. It was a building that would have included stage, restrooms, back, storage, et cetera.
That's right, yeah.
And depending on the location, I wouldn't say it would overwhelm Proudy Plaza, but it would have taken a lot of the footprint.
I remember that now, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I see one comment right away, and I know that now is not the time to micromanage this, but there are pavers going diagonally across Proudy Plaza now that are there only because there was one path there leading from the Mayflower over to La Piazza.
Mhm.
And unless you put some sort of walkway through there, that's just going to happen again.
And it's, in my opinion, not too early to micromanage. I wouldn't call that micromanage. These are the kind of comments that we want, because then we can go and start refining this. So, you know, I think there's two objectives here. Number one, is it worth continuing something to look at changes to Proudy Plaza? Number two, confirm that there is no interest in changing Proudy Plaza from the name Proudy Plaza, which is an assumption on our part, and so we would need some confirmation from the park board if we are to go forward, and we do want to start talking to some corporate businesses that may want to help offset some of these costs. And then number three, you know, depending on the answers to those first two, then what kind of changes, you know, which rendering do you like? Which one would there be changes to, such as the comment that you just made?
Well, I'll start the discussion, and Jordan and Susan can go ahead and chime in. I like this rendering. It's a permanent stage. I like the earthenworks. Is that large enough to hold the symphony?
That's something that we would have to, you know, that's part of the details, but we would want it to be.
And then what would happen with the showmobile?
The showmobile, I mean, there's still other uses for it. There are places that we use it.
But we wouldn't have to stage that here.
Correct.
No,
Which would free up a lot of your time.
completely. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we've talked quite a bit about that. And right now, we touch that stage, the showmobile, almost weekly, either moving it in and out of that venue to Treasure Island, to Community Park, to the levee. And so this eliminates a lot of that already goes on and frees that up to not have to tear it down every weekend. We can just move it from Duke Park to whatever. So it'll still be used quite often, but it's just going to save a lot of labor having the permanent stage on Proudy.
And we already have public restrooms at the baseball fields on Market Street, Archer Park, and of course Duke Park. Are adding these public restrooms any additional burden to you?
It is, it'll be additional, and we've not gotten that far and talked about how that'll be manned and what all will be involved there, but it's certainly something to think about.
Yeah, and something to think about too is vandalism. I know that we had a great deal of discussion concerning the Market Street bathrooms and how they were constructed to kind of decrease the amount of vandalism, decrease the effort and maintenance and things like that, so I'm sure you're going to stay on top of that.
Yes, and that's another thing that we talked about. Right now, for every event that goes on downtown, that the portable trailer, the restroom trailer is requested weekly. Just about weekly, we're setting that up.
Mhm.
And that happens Friday morning, it sets up, and then Monday morning, my guys are in to tear it down. So that's another piece that is going to be eliminated or could potentially be eliminated with the permanent restroom.
Is that ours or is that rented?
So it's housed at the wastewater treatment plant, and we take care of the setup.
Yeah, that is a city,
It's a city.
it's a
Yes,
city
yes.
thing. We got that from the Troy Foundation.
Right.
Gotcha.
And so, related to the restrooms, one of the details that we are nowhere near getting resolved is who would manage that, because there is some interest, and potentially some interest, in not only that being a restroom area, but a welcome center type facility or room. There may be some interest in relocating one of the downtown partnerships that we have into that building. So you have restrooms on one side and a small office on the other that is also a welcome center. So there are some things that we would continue to have a dialogue with those groups to see who would be responsible and when. So I don't think, I mean, again, it is too early, that it would fall 100% to the park department.
The partnership sounds great. I think that the last committee failed because of the amount of footprint that the building had on the Proudy Plaza. So I would urge you to try to keep the amount of footprint to a minimum.
Sure, and that is one of the next steps that we would do, is to really do this rendering to scale with more detailed drawings, and then come back to the park board to take another look.
Okay. A couple other comments. Skateboards, things like that. The earthen thing would be just an invitation to skateboards. We'll have to do something to go ahead and try to make sure that that doesn't happen. Signage will be important, of course. And there are some dedicated bricks down here in the lower level. I want to make sure that we preserve those in whatever fashion we have. We've got it here in this
So you
rendering. We
mean-
didn't
you
have it
mean
in
these?
rendering number 3, I think. Yeah,
You mean
those are-
these? Yeah, and this is, you're talking about the engraved bricks?
Yes.
Yeah, right here, I believe. Are they any more?
No, just in that.
Just
little
in that area.
right there.
And we asked Grant to make sure that he kept those and incorporated those. So what you see here, maybe a cleanup of this site, of this corner, but not an overhaul.
And the last issue I want to talk about before Jordan and Susan pipe in are that the naming rights. We're very sensitive on the park board about too much advertising litter in the city. I think we've done a real good job so far. So we want to keep the amount of signage to commercial entities to a minimum. It's a real eye-opening experience, even considering it on the tee signs out there at the Miami Shores Golf Course. So I certainly wouldn't want 5-foot-high signs on Proudy Plaza, something small, tasteful. We'd have to work on that.
Yeah, and wrong one, man. It's terrible when your eyesight starts going. There we go. All right, I knew if I waited it out, it would go. So what we were thinking initially is that, if anything, this says Acme Stage, and that's it. And that, that would be the stage name, and everything else would continue to be Proudy Plaza.
Or the Acme Pavilion at Proudy Plaza. type of thing.
Certainly.
Okay, Jordan, Susan, you had comments?
No, I definitely like the idea of getting some public restrooms, easily accessible, easily identified by the public as the restrooms, that you could point somebody there. That's one of the things that walking around town people have asked about. So I definitely see that being an asset. And I like the look of it. I, again, would see that path running through, so that would have to be addressed, because that was something that was kind of an eyesore after a while. Became trampled grass. And I know there's some people that are very passionate about the wall, but I would like to entertain something else there. I don't know, maybe something new and fresh, I don't know. But I know there's a lot of passion for that.
There's some history there.
I know,
There is.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm not real fond of abstract art, but do you have any alternatives?
Not right off the top of my head, but I'm sure there would be lots of people that would entertain that.
What were his ideas on option 3, doing with the wall? What was he
It
doing
looked
with
like
the
a
wall?
live wall or
Let's
something.
see. Option 3.
Is that?
Yeah,
I'm not even sure what that is.
okay. Looks like grass
Looks
growing.
like
Jill,
something
did
the
you
park
hear what he
board, the park people would have to maintain one
Right.
time.
And there's not grass growing on top of the restaurants, is there?
It does look like
I-
he did green roofs.
Yeah.
I believe that's what he did there.
Yeah.
Again, these are just concepts.
Sure.
This is
Right.
really forward thinking.
Right.
So it's just a rendering at this point.
I don't know if that's a living wall, or if
Yeah,
that was his
that's what it looks like
intention,
to
or,
me.
It appears to be.
yeah.
Again,
And whatever, I mean, it was just, I think also to up, like, to
Yes.
bring your eye up, like,
Sure.
to the sun kind of thing, I think was more green space.
Well, one of the things we'd want to have our law director do is find out who owns that wall. Is it part of the Mayflower building, and in
Yeah,
fact, is
yeah,
the
and
Mayflower
I think we
owner-
know the answer. I don't want to, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I know we've looked into that before. Yeah.
I do miss the big shade tree too, because that's one of the only shaded spots when you're out there, but I
Right.
realize that can change too.
Right. But I think,
Let's see.
uh,
So
without
here's one with the walkway, and one of the things that we had talked about, and we could definitely look at a different rendering, is if we got rid of, if he eliminated these two and left something along this line, and maybe it crossed somehow diagonally. You know, there's a lot of different, he's a pretty creative guy, and I'm not.
Yeah. On college campuses all the time, they put down sidewalks wherever they found that there were paths.
Mhm.
And if anything goes on a 90-degree angle like it is right here, there will soon be a path on a diagonal.
Mhm.
As long as a plan for it. Jordan, you want to say anything?
No, I like the aesthetics of it. This is probably my favorite option of reviewing them. I like the grass on top of the restrooms there. I still think it kind of adds an element. This one or that other design that we looked at prior. I like the idea of kind of a minimal stage concept. Once again, I think we need to clarify what the intent of that stage is, or what you're going to put there versus some other areas of the city. But overall, I kind of like the idea. I like the rocks that they have in there. That kind of reminds me of some other pretty cool, trendy cities I've seen in the past that have incorporated some downtown design. So I think that's pretty progressive, and I like that. I personally like that wall. It's just kind of been there forever. Not me, not saying that we couldn't, maybe just preserve part of it versus the whole thing, but it's just kind of been there forever. I kind of like it.
Do we have any of those canal lock stones left?
We're not sure. The hospital project is using them as part of their landscape plan, since that's where they came from.
Sure.
And we're not sure what's going to be left. We did use quite a few of them out at Treasure Island.
Okay. Well, you didn't want us to take any action today, other than getting some feedback.
Just
Is
get
that
some
correct?
feedback from you. Do we have enough? Yeah, we got?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Jordan, is there anything else?
Yeah, no, I think this is, like I said, I really enjoyed the drawings, and I think it kind of hits on.
Okay. Mr. Titterton, thank you very much.
Thank
And,
you.
Just keep us in the loop.
Certainly will.
See the light. Okay. Other new business. First of all, I want to tell you that I received an email today that the statues were being placed today. Now with the rain, I don't know if they did.
Actually, yes.
They did place
they're
the
in
statue?
process of just finishing that one.
Okay. In Aviation Park, next to the Senior Citizen Center, the statue should be placed. I like the way it's look.
Yeah.
I think it looks really nice. So we will be contacting the donors about any potential dedication. Okay. We tabled a matter for our July meeting, and that's the tee boxes. And Jordan, are you anticipating being here for the July meeting? It's on July 2nd. Susan, will you be here?
Yes.
Because I will not, just to let you know. So you're handling the meeting then. Okay. All right. Okay. Mr. Drake, other matters?
I guess at this time, we could go ahead and call Mr. Gary Ray forward, and we're just going to talk and have a little discussion about the plan or an idea to potentially have trees planted on the backside of Meadow Point Park.
Okay, Mr. Ray, would you identify yourself and your address for the record, please?
My name is Gary Ray. I live on 623 Willow Point Court, which is in front of this 3.5 acre park. And some of the homeowners have come up to me and says, can we plant trees? And I mentioned to them that we really needed to talk with you guys get approval. If we get approval, then set up a plan to maybe where the community down my street could work with you guys in developing, planting trees in that I think it's 3.4. But anyway, so I wanted to get with you. There's about 3 families that's talked to me on it. And once, if we get your approval, then I will bring it up to the whole neighborhood, get a plan, see what we can get our people to donate as far as trees and what help that we could do, and get, and that, and whatever we can do as a partnership between our neighborhood. We are no longer a homeownership, that's defunct, so it'd just be a neighborhood. And I guess I'll be the representative for it. We've talked before when we were getting the back lot, cut and so forth. But that's what I'd like is for you guys to look at that. We sent Jamie just sort of an overview of what it might be, putting trees and stuff in the back there. If there's a certain type of tree, a certain spacing. One of the homeowners just across the bridge had planted like 4 pine trees that's on your park property.
Nice.
Yeah, God forbid.
Well, that brings up a very good subject. I mean, I appreciate the cooperation of the neighbors and the willingness to go ahead and do that. But we have to make sure that they are trees that we want to see out there, that don't require a lot of maintenance, and that we provide the locations to where they're going to be.
Yes,
So
that's,
if any of the neighbors are out there planting gardens or trees or things like that, we can't have that without some coordination with the park department.
yeah, that's the reason I told him we had to get, and I sent a letter to Jamie with a proposal. And then basically we'll work with you guys if that looks like a feasible option to take that 3+ acres and slowly work in it. Maybe it'd be 3-5 years, but slowly grow it up and make it a viable source. It could maybe eventually put a walking trail around it or whatever, but it could be an open green space, and, not open, but with the trees and that. So I'm looking for you guys to give me feedback. If you think that's a viable option, then I will send a memo out to everybody down our street, and we'll put together a committee ourselves and then start working and figure out how we want to go about putting trees in that back area.
Mr. Drake, I know that if you wanted to seed a lawn, you do wait until fall. When do you plant trees, or does it matter?
Typically spring and fall is the
Spring and
best
fall.
time.
Well, why don't-
So we got the fall that we could put together a plan now and then see where we can get trees, what I can get from the neighbors. Maybe I can get each neighbor to donate a $30 tree or whatever. But put together a plan and then maybe start on it in the fall. Take it in stride and so
I don't
forth.
have any problem with the neighbors improving the park under our direction, so Jordan, Susan, do you have any problems with that? I think, as we did with this other matter that just came before us,
Yeah.
I think you've heard some feedback that would be acceptable to listening to a plan.
Okay.
So if you want to have the neighbors put a plan together, we'll drop it off to Jeremy, Mr. Drake.
We gave him a proposed plan,
That's what you have, that's what I included in the,
but what we don't know is the type of trees, like you were talking, the type of
neighbor.
trees, the type of spacing, and
What I
then
don't see
would you
is
be
the
open?
location.
Yeah.
right, so there are a couple things. One is, you're right, we don't have any kind of an actual plan for spacing or actual locations of the trees, and maybe that's something we work on together as we move forward.
Yeah,
The other thing that I just wanted to point out is it's a monoculture. So what that is it's a single, I only see one species of tree listed in the plan.
yeah.
And we definitely want to try to
Oh, we
stay
just
clear
put,
of that.
that was something we'd pull off the thing.
Okay.
As I told the individual that had me with that is, we'd basically getting the species of trees from you guys.
Okay,
What,
yeah,
you
that
know,
would be,
because once you get the park, eventually some of the maintenance and, we'll probably get some in the neighborhood to help out on that, but you guys know what trees work, what you'd like to see in the park areas. So that would be something that we'd be looking for you for letting us know what type of trees, what spacing, and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, and I would definitely want to have that input. For sure.
Well, I think what you heard from us is that we would be in favor of receiving a plan from the neighborhood.
Okay,
So if you want to put a plan together, including location, types of trees, coordinate that with Jeremy, then come back to the park board for permission, maybe we can implement that this spring.
okay.
This fall, excuse me.
If you could give me an idea of what type of trees and the type of spacing, then I will get with the rest of our street and sit down with people and we'll put together a plan.
Sounds good.
Okay, I have a second item,
Okay.
and you guys did a wonderful job up until about 4 years, and still, but the drainage well and that is really getting overgrown with the bushes are really becoming like trees. Last year, I don't know, Jamie, if you were involved, but they were
Let me
using,
correct, this is Jeremy.
Jeremy, okay, excuse me. They were using a robotic, or like an arm bush hog going down and trying to clean that out. And it basically created like living swords. It just wasn't cutting it. So now that's something I could talk with the neighborhood, see if we could get a team to go down there and clean up. But the worst thing is you're getting more kids using that park on the other side. And it's becoming more of a hazard with possibility of this thing with they're talking about ticks and fleas and so forth. So you guys have been doing a great job on cutting the grass and everything. And I was just wondering what we could work with you guys on and getting that drainage well cleaned up.
Okay.
And where it'd be more manageable, because it has gotten way out of hand.
Yeah, we can talk more about that. There's a couple different thought processes there, and I know you and I had talked before. That's a stormwater runoff drainage area, so our sewer maintenance department maintains that swale.
Yeah,
One thing we ran into, I was in the middle of it several years, probably 10 years ago. We had some complaints about overgrowth, so we came out to mow it, and then we had homeowners out there running out saying, don't mow it. They wanted that buffer between the parkland, the finished park property where the playground is, and the creek, because it offered a natural barrier.
yeah, we had a lot of discontinuity. That's basically the
So-
reason the homeownership didn't go. You have to have continuity, not just between us and the homeownership, but you gotta have it with the park board.
Go ahead, Jeremy,
And-
continue.
and-
Yeah, so there's just different thoughts there, so then we backed off of doing that mowing, and so now it sounds like maybe you're wanting to have it mowed again, so we've been back and forth.
Yeah.
Basically, we just need to know what to tell our sewer
What,
maintenance.
what I think is just cleaning it out to where it's a safe environment for the kids and stuff that's playing on the other side. Maybe not 100%, but going in and could be done, once every other year or something, but getting the heavy overgrowth, maybe the tree type things that's still there. I think what the people were probably looking at is sort of a blockage. Once we start putting these trees, there'd be no need for that overgrowth there to block the view from whatever.
We were talking about the blockage so the kids wouldn't run into the creek, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the overgrowth along the creek.
Yeah.
And then, now you said something about the trees blocking view. Are you talking about the trees that? you're
Yeah, if
proposing
we
to
end up
plant?
doing the trees, then, whatever those people were talking about, having that overgrowth there, I really don't know where they were coming from, but I will find out. But I think as a safety thing and a liability thing for the park, if that got just thinned out a little bit, I think would be a good, and then what's happening is some people are putting lawn waste and so forth in that area, and it, so if you have a little bit more.
That's a no-no. So you
Yeah.
might want to talk to your neighbors about that as well.
Yes, yeah.
Gary,
So,
thank you very much.
yeah. But that's where I'm at. Whatever I can work with you guys on that. If you need help, I can get a group of guys and so forth and go down there. Or Jeremy, I live right behind it. You can give me a call. We can come down, walk through there. And so I just think primarily the main thing is just getting it thinned out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jeremy, if you'd contact sewer maintenance and see what you can do about that. Okay. I see a group of people out there. Roy, are you leading this group? Do you want to address the Forward Park Commissioners? Okay, state your name and address, please.
Roy Baker, 136 Finsbury Lane, Troy. I wanted to come and personally express our appreciation for the new pickleball courts that have been opened up. They're in operation now, and it's absolutely, if you haven't seen them, I have a few snapshots I'd like to share with you.
Sure, send them on up.
The concern that I have is we have
Yeah.
a number of people that come to play the pickleball court, and up to now we've had them unlocked so that our equipment in there could not be damaged or stolen. We have a good amount of equipment in there to build up the ball courts, and we keep a first aid supply and with tools that we need to work with and that sort of thing, and we could have them locked up. And I was wondering now if you could, instead of locking both of them, let us lock the new one that has the most good equipment in it, the latest upfit, and leave the other one open. Over the years, my name has been listed for years in the USAPA Association in Washington, D.C., so they can look up my name there and find out where the pickleball is being played in anywhere. And I've had about 6 calls in 10 years. So there's not many people that, if they call, I give them a key, give them the combination key, and just ask that they return it, or lock it when they leave. And that's been our philosophy. And if we have damage or something of the park equipment, then we have to repair it and that sort of thing. Mr. Elliman spent about $1,500 on materials last winter to build the ball fences that we have. And his labor is free, and we're thankful for that because he took a long time to do all that, and then we put it together. So wondered if there's any consideration of letting us lock the good pickleball court, leave the other one open.
Okay, thank you very much. Give you some background, pickleball is now really taking off as a sport around here, and we went ahead and converted the tennis courts out at Duke Park to pickleball courts to satisfy some of the desire to have that type of a sport in this community. When we first addressed the issue, there was going to be a a capital contribution by those people that were playing pickleball for additional equipment because they share courts. They wanted some equipment out there, for instance, to stop balls from going onto some other courts and things like that. So what we decided to do is to go ahead and lock the courts upon their promise that if somebody wanted access to the courts, that they could call a telephone number and get a combination or a key and gain access. Recently, we've had some complaints, and those complaints were, hey, listen, I pay taxes, I want access to the public facilities, I ought to be able to play pickleball as well, shouldn't have to call somebody to get a key. When we first agreed to lock it, I was really concerned about that issue then too. We hadn't heard any complaints for a while, and now we're hearing more. Jeremy, do you?
Yeah,
say
I'll
anything
just
about that?
elaborate on that and say that, Mr. Baker, I know that you may not have gotten those calls. I think what happens a lot of times on the weekends, families are out there, they want to access the courts. They don't know to access the website necessarily to get your contact. And so that's kind of most recently where the complaints have happened is people out there, families on the weekends, they just see the courts, they go over to use them, they're locked. And so it's my feeling that it is a public facility, it should be unlocked. And so most recently, we've made the decision to go ahead and do that, with the understanding that we've got many groups in the city, whether it's Timba or Mercer Group or Troy Junior Trojans Baseball, all that give time, give money, all on city property. Once that happens, the city assumes ownership of that. It's our responsibility to take care of it. If anything ever comes up broken, damaged, missing, vandalized, you can let me know and we'll help take care of that. I've got people in-house, my own staff that can help repair things, or if things get actually damaged and need replaced, we can look at that as well. So you know, I hope that you understand that it is still a public facility, and that's why the decision's been made to unlock it.
If you definitely made a commission to do that, would you consider making another sign that says pickleball only on the north and the south gate?
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, even on our, like on our tennis courts, we've got signs, tennis only, no skateboarding, those types of things. But, so we could do that on,
Yeah, the
both
skateboards are the
boards.
thing that we are so fearful of, because those plastic pipe that we put together to keep the balls where they belong. And if you played at other places that don't have those fences, it's really an asset to have those in between.
sure. Yeah.
Keeps the ball where it belongs and saves a lot of time
Right.
running the ball down.
Yeah,
I played down at the Hawk Center, and it's, they have 6 courts down there, and it's balls everywhere,
yeah.
because they don't have those pickleball courts.
Well, you know, you've worked long enough together with me. If you need anything, we take care of it. So
Oh,
and you
sure.
know how to get a hold of me, and we always have. I mean, we've already been taking care of things on the court. So,
Okay.
The other
Yeah, I
thing
hope
I
that
will
helps.
extend to you, Mr. Baker, is your group really uses those facilities, and we appreciate the capital improvements you've made to the facilities. If you wanted to make a further capital improvement, I'm just speaking for myself because there's 3 members of the board, but if you wanted to put some sort of shed out there near that place to store you said a medical
Yeah, we keep a
bag?
first aid kit in there, as well as tools to repair the windscreen if they come loose, and personal items lost and found, we all have to have
And
that.
balls and things like that.
And, yeah, we furnish the balls for anybody that wants to play. They don't have to bring their own balls, so we
Yeah.
continually pass those out as they need them.
Yeah, I'm not talking about a large shed, I'm talking about maybe a locker that you'd fit on in one corner of the facility there, that maybe you could keep the key to and lock and unlock yourself, or one of your members could, but that might be something that you could
Okay,
avail yourself of. If you want to give us a plan for that and come back to the board and say, listen, we'd like to purchase this cabinet to be placed on the court. Mr. Titterington, do you have any problem with that? You see a legal issue if we permit them to place?
Not an immediate one, no, sir.
Okay. All right,
all right.
okay, thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Any other matters to come before the commission? Mr. Titterington, do you have anything else you want to address? Mr. Cagley, do you have anything to come before the commission? Okay. Commission members want to discuss anything further?
I just have one question that has been brought up to me. Do we have a tree program, like in memoriam for someone, that they could plant a tree in memory of somebody?
yes. So if they contact me, let me know. They can go to any nursery. I can help with species selection if they want to. If they've got a favorite park or a specific location, we can talk about that.
Okay,
And then they pick out the tree, I pay for it, let me know where it is, and then we plant it.
okay. Is there a charge to plant it?
No charge to plant.
Okay.
you know.
But the location has to be approved by a
Right.
park superintendent,
And the
and any
species?
signage is paid by the donor.
Okay,
Correct.
okay,
And then I can help them too with the contacts for where to get the plaques and
Okay.
so forth, and
okay,
size and all that.
okay, thank you.
Any other matters come before the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?